Welcome to Talk Theory. It's your host, Kiara Barnes, where I talk all things life, what makes us human, and what makes us superhuman. Sit back, relax, and join me for a chat. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Talk Theory. How's everyone feeling? I hope everyone is doing good, gearing up for Christmas. Guys, this happened so fast. I don't even know what to think, but ultimately I'm okay with it. Honestly, I would really like to start anew, enter the new year with a different kind of perspective, perhaps. A different kind of, horizons. Yeah. So that's that on that. Okay, let's get to it. I've got a lot to say today. I don't know. I've been watching movies lately and listening to songs and just, I don't know, thinking generally about being a woman and specifically beauty standards and what it means to be beautiful or to be pretty. And I think it's an interesting conversation. Because here's the thing about beauty. First off, it's evolved a ton, right? At points of time, there were standards with, being really big and plump because that showed wealth and access to indulgence or abundance. To it then going to the other side of the spectrum where in the early 2000s, late 90s, it was all about being the thinnest. And then there was all these diet fads where celebrities were endorsing, and it was that very intense celebrity culture, making it just the new thing to do all that you can to be as small as possible, which we all saw how that went down and all the issues that came out of that. And even, dude, I saw something someone was talking about in TikTok, in the Victorian times, how it was cool to have a massive forehead. And so folks were straight up women, anyone just giving themselves receding hairlines. I'm not kidding, pretty pushing back to basically half their skull is exposed, you know what I'm saying? Hairline is basically non-existent because it it would look like you had a bigger forehead. I don't know what the deal was with the big forehead thing. I think it was someone in royalty was seen to do it, and so everyone was oh, well, obviously, if she's doing it, that's very regal, so I'm gonna push back my hairline as well. It's just so odd how these things go. And I think, of course, there's more than beauty on the outside, but what's marketed to us substantially in society all the time is definitely how you look externally. And I also will say, I don't think anyone gets out unscathed. I've definitely been affected, and I think it's hard not to be when it's all over, whether it's on our TV or our magazines or ads, social media, talked about in the music. It's just always around, and it's hard not to be influenced. I mean, it's literally my job is to make sure I take care of my skin and look a certain way, and I'm being perceived all the time online, and people get to say whatever they want because it's public. I'm a public figure, and so I think that's been very interesting in general. But yeah, so it's really hard not to be influenced, and I think the only way to really combat any of that is by having some kind of strong self-perception and focusing on how we take care of ourselves. For me, this is definitely a journey. Some days I really am. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling confident. And then randomly I'll wake up and feel horrible. Not like what I feel like I look like, and I'll say, I started giving myself honestly a break about it recently, specifically when I'm on my period or within the cycle, because my body changes so much depending on where I am in my cycle. And so instead of freaking out why I might be, I don't know, more puffy in the face or something, or like carrying a little extra bloat or whatever, I'll just be like, it's going to change again. It's fine. And the funny thing about this too is whatever we think our quote unquote worst is, nobody has noticed, noted, or really seen a difference or even really cared. And when we're like even talking like, oh, I was feeling so good last week and now this week I look horrible and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, chances are not all that much change within a week, but your hormones or your brain can definitely, make you feel like you are and play tricks on you to make you feel like you've had this major change. And I get it, right? Because we all know when we're feeling our best. We all have felt just lively and good and our body feels good. And so even when a little change happens, it can feel a lot more extreme than it really is. So just being able to bring yourself back down to earth when you're floating away helps, and making sure that you're not doing things that will make you feel bad, like talking badly about yourself or making yourself feel guilty or shame if it's, my thing is like, okay, if it's doing more harm than good, then probably just don't say it, because what we say to ourselves the most and what we think about ourselves the most, we're training our body and brain to believe that and to live that as truth. And that's not good for you or your emotional or physical health. It causes stress and upset, and it's just ultimately just not cool to bully yourself. It's really a waste of time. I feel like also beauty standards are heavily influenced in your environment. So I was born in Utah. I moved around a bit, and I ended up living more of my younger years going into like my preteen to teen years in Missouri. And the specific school district I was in was pretty diverse. I grew up with all kinds of different people. So I never felt out of place for the way that I looked, just because we had so many different folks at my school that it was not really anything I totally thought about too much. And I'm also biracial, and I grew up in a family with other biracial kids and different people, but never made to feel different, Anyhow, I ended up moving my freshman year of high school from Missouri to Utah. And it was a massive culture shock because I stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, I genuinely can't even remember. I'm trying to think, like, just even another black person at the school. Like, we had, I would say, like, maybe a lot of Pacific Islanders and perhaps a handful of Hispanic and Asian, but predominantly, I went to, like, an all-white school, like, honestly, and you can imagine the standard was blue eyes, blonde hair. And I didn't at all fit into that. And I was definitely reminded, whether it be I'd go on dates with guys who would tell me, oh, like, I've never been with a black girl, or like been on a date with a black girl, or like kissed a black girl. Like, they would literally announce this stuff. It's just insane. Or even when I wore my hair natural, like in its curly state, instead of straightening it, because I would just like fry my hair into an oblivion, I sometimes just wanted to just not do that. But then it became a petting zoo at school, which was obviously very embarrassing for me. So I just ended up assimilating as best as I could, because being a new kid, let alone looking the way that I looked, you just feel like an alien, really, and it just sucked. So I would, like I said, I would straighten my hair till it was fried, people. Fried. Made my own homemade uh, hair extensions with an old friend of mine. You know who you are. Hey girl. Yes, we did that. We go to Sally's Beauty, get our hair extensions, get our clips, sew them bad boys into the extensions, and we had our own hair clips, okay? We made it work. So anyway, I would straighten my hair every day, and also just being in Utah and Mormon, because I was Mormon at the time, and I will say this, being Mormon in Utah it's different, okay? So it's definitely the popular religion. In Missouri, it was a little different being Mormon there because it was kind of just like strange, like, oh, you're Mormon, okay? Because it was more like, I feel like Catholic and maybe Baptist, but I want to say Catholic was probably way more prominent. Like you would see way more Catholic churches than anything. So, and also if you've ever been to Utah, you've been driving down a block and seen like 4 Mormon churches just on one street, and like on another street, see another 3. So they're everywhere, right? So specifically like dressing however they dressed was really important at the time. And I was, and like I said, I was Mormon, so that was fine. But still like the kind of styles and jewelry or whatever, I just wanted to be looked at and seen as beautiful or their version of beauty based off of my environment. And like I said, anywhere else I would have been, anywhere else I would have lived, I probably would have been made to feel been fine, but being here or being in Utah, it was completely different. It was just hard. High school, I don't know. High school in general is a trip. Being a kid and growing into your teen years to adult, it's just a lot. It's all about making friends and navigating relationships and figuring yourself out. And so much is changing. I mean, really, it's a lot. I also think depending on how you grew up can affect how you see yourself. And to be honest, look, I didn't really grow up in a house where we talked a ton about our looks. Like, there was always the standard present, like, take care of yourself and present well kind of thing. But it's not like I was always being addressed by like, oh, you're so beautiful and you're so gorgeous and da-da-da. Or you're so pretty or anything like that. But when I was like really little, I think I heard it a lot from strangers in general would comment on the way that I look because I was just like this baby with like, at the time I had lighter curly hair too, with like blonde streaks, tan skin, green eyes, black eyebrows. Also, my eyes were like Disney Pixar eyes, just huge. Just more of like a whoa, I've never seen someone who looks like that kind of thing. So it was commented on a lot. And I talked to my mom about this. And she just said, when we got older, her and my dad they didn't want us to become shallow or dependent on our looks or, I don't know, just become like bratty people. So it's not something that they really brought up too much. Which I get, but then at the same time, I feel like there's a balance because I know it seems maybe odd to think of, but being affirmed really helps a ton. And especially if it's by a parent or a guardian or someone that you look up to or respect, because then you're really taking that to heart, which is why you do have to be considerate about the things you say around kids but even people in general, because the more it's fed to you, the more belief you end up building up towards it. And I think there's a balance to be able to uplift and say these things to instill that you don't have to go outward to find this. You already possess these things. And this isn't to blame or make anyone feel bad, but I did as a teen and moving forward into my 20s, I just didn't feel confident and felt like I needed to find what it is to be beautiful through whatever I was watching or who I saw was the most popular at school or who I was dating, which obviously isn't the best place to go searching for self-esteem and confirmation or confidence. And it's not even till somewhat honestly recently where I've taken more stock into who I am and what what beauty really means to me. And I've been more kind to myself than ever before. I will say that. Again, this is not to blame anyone, because at the end of the day, we all have to make our own thoughts and summations and opinions about the world we live in. The thing, and I will say that the things around us and who we are as people in the world, it's all going to, affect us and define us in some way. But if you can find a balance to have some kind of affirmations and things that feel good to you and uplift you, then definitely, incorporate that. For me, I will say this came in a way of switching my perspective and outlook of things, like working out, skincare, doing my makeup, doing my hair, eating whole meals. So instead of thinking, oh, I need to do this workout to make sure I look like this or this person, or I need to eat this so that I look like whoever, or I need to do my hair so I can be like this person, I started just saying, how can I take care of myself the best? And I found logging food in a journal or forcing myself to do these HIIT workouts are, good gosh, folks. And it just was not helping my body, honestly. It was actually keeping it in a very alarmed state. And it wasn't helpful at all because I was just stressed. So I changed my routine, and based on how, I'm feeling that day, I encourage myself to show up for me in the best way possible for that day. If it's rest, I don't guilt myself if I need to take a nap after work, or if I want a certain meal, I make sure I make something that is enjoyable, not like a freaking rice cake with peanut butter on top. No, like I need something flavorful, also that it's going to make me feel good, and I'll feel sustained afterwards. I take care of my skin because it feels good to have that time to myself at the end of the night where I can love on my face and just hydrate it. And I don't know, I like being able to also even just do workouts that make me feel good. And on the days that I want an extra challenge because I'm just in the mood to stretch my muscles or something, I'll do that, but there's a way of putting less pressure on everything and making it so not as intense and serious, instead just learning how to enjoy who I am, my own company. That in itself has already strengthened my relationship with who I am and what I feel beauty is to me. And it's so nice because I've gotten to this point where I don't crave or need anyone to say that to me. It's nice, and I'll always accept the compliment, but I'm no longer starving for someone else's approval of who I am. And I'll say this about compliments too. And it's something I had to learn, not just for beauty, but in general. It's okay to take a compliment. It's okay to accept someone's kindness and love. I used to brush it off and then make a self-deprecating joke or deflect some way, but I stopped doing that because there's nothing embarrassing or odd about someone giving genuine love and appreciation. I think about certain people, artists, books, things I've had an interaction with that really changed my life in a beautiful way. And if I were to express my gratitude to any of those things or people or whatever, and they just like brushed it off or made fun of it, it would just be a bummer. Like it would kind of dampen the mood, the moment. So it's not only for you, but someone has genuinely been affected by you, decide to speak up and express some kind of love towards you, and you're kind of just pushing it, just to say thank you. There's nothing wrong with that. I think more importantly, redefining beauty is where we get our power back, because you can change anything you want about yourself. But if internally you haven't worked on that sense of self, you're still going to feel bad. Yeah, and finding the areas you usually hate on and trying to inject them with love and understanding is like the first step to healing. Maybe it's your hair, but you actually have the same hair as your grandmother, and that's actually really sweet to think of. So now you want to treat your hair with love rather than frustration. Or maybe it's the color of your eyes, but you have your father or your mother's eyes, and every time you look in the mirror, you have them with you, like you wear your parents on your face. Like, so just looking at things and spinning it into a different perspective and finding meaning in who you really are rather than who everyone else tells you to be. So, yeah, that's what I got for you today, folks. Let's get into the theory of the week. Beauty is about embracing your authenticity and recognizing the light that radiates from within. Oh, lovely. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Thanks for the folks who commented under episodes recently. I was reading through a few, and yeah, I appreciate it a ton. It's so nice to hear from you guys and to know that what I'm saying is landing and that impacting you in some kind of positive way. So appreciate it. Love you. Feel free to reach out to me on Spotify or in my Instagram DMs. Let me know if you have any topic ideas. I'm always down to hear. And most of all, feel free to share this pod app with friends, coworkers, family, whoever. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every Monday. Okay, I shall see you next week. Okay, love you. Bye.